Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Half of this video was filmed on Friday and the other half is being filmed today, which is Tuesday. So on Friday, when I had originally filmed my foundation and complexion routine, I was kind of stressed because I was dealing with the fact that my first video wasn't going up and I lost footage and it was just a whole mess. And I didn't realize until I was editing it that I never, 1, filmed my intro, 2, filmed my outro, 3, showed me applying my primer, and 4, the check-in that I was going to do at the end of the day with how my skin was looking and how I kind of touch up my skin at the end of the day. So I just wanted to put that out there, but again, the products and the techniques I use are exactly the same as I used on Friday. I just didn't want to delete that footage on Friday because I had said a lot of good tips. Oh, also, you know, of course I forgot things. Today's video is about how I do my foundation and complexion routine. This is not me teaching you how to do your foundation, but rather this is what works for me and my skin type. I do try to give other tips and tricks, but for the most part it's really what has worked for me. Alright, now that I said everything I'm gonna say, I'm gonna shut up and here you go. So before we get into me applying my foundation and other base products, I wanted to talk a little bit about my skin type and my skin concern. So I have very oily skin, pretty much all around my face. That being said, even though I'm really oily, I really don't like a matte finish when it comes to my skin and my complexion products. I find that really drying products actually make my skin look worse by the end of the day. And for me, at the end of the day, I want my skin to look nice, radiant, glowy. I don't like to hide my oils too much. I like to embrace them. So everybody has a different preference in terms of how they want their skin to look, but for me, I don't expect my skin to look exactly the same at the end of the day. I do expect to see a little bit of oiliness, especially around my T-zone. And I really don't mind that because for me that's really easy to fix. I can just take my sponge and dab over the areas that are really oily to soak up some of those oils, or I take my Fenty Beauty blotting powder and a little brush that I keep in my purse and I kind of dab it around the areas that I feel a little more oily. So I'm going to start off with my Milk Hydrogrip primer. This is a very sticky primer. When I first pump it out, it's like a really thick gel and it's pretty tacky, as you can see. So I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that all over my skin. And what this will start to do after a few seconds is it will start to get tacky. So if you put your finger, you can hear that, the primer is becoming tacky. And the purpose of that is so that when you put your foundation, cream, powder products on top, they're going to grip to the skin. Pore filling primers or any other type of silicone based primer will leave a very thick layer over the skin. And once you put all the other products on top, you're just going to have a thick cakiness. So blurring primers and primers that cling to even out your skin tone, while it may create that nice smooth appearance, they're usually a really thick formula, so when you put anything on top, it's not going to grip to the skin and it's going to slide around a lot. So now I'm going to go in with my foundation. I'm going to be using the NARS Natural Longwear Radiant Foundation. I take about 3 pumps. The pumps are pretty small. And what I'm doing is I am applying it around my face with my finger. The warmth of my finger is going to warm up the foundation and blend it out a little more easily. I avoid the area around my nose because I don't want to add too much product. The nose area has a lot of cracks and crevices and texture, and so when you put too much product on there, it can really emphasize all of that. So what I'm going to do is take my sponge and take whatever's left on my hand and make sure to get the jawline. I don't go beyond the jaw. I hate makeup on my neck. I would rather have my foundation not match me completely than drag it down my neck. I try not to drag the foundation, especially when I'm using a sponge. I try to just use a sponge to press it in. And then I'll switch over to the more pointed side and do the areas that are a little harder to reach. Right here in the eye area. So as the name suggests, this is a natural long-wear radiant foundation. It's going to have a natural finish. It's going to be long wearing, so it's not going to break apart too easily, too quickly. And it's radiant. There's a nice glow. Okay, so I'm going to zoom you guys in. Now, my skin is definitely going to look a little more shiny because of all the lighting. Next, I'm going to go in with concealer. My favorite concealer is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This is in the shade Medium Sand. This is definitely a more full coverage concealer. I like to place it a little bit around my eye. This shade is the tiniest bit darker than my foundation shade. Right now I'm placing it around my mouth because I do get a little dark around my mouth. So I want to add a little more coverage there. You can definitely go in with another layer of foundation if you want to add more coverage, but for me, I prefer to go in with a concealer that's a little more full coverage. That way I can place that pigment just in the areas that I want to add more coverage rather than putting another full layer of foundation in areas that I don't even need. So I take the side I used to blend out my foundation, and then I switch over to the more pointed side, and then I start blending the concealer that's under my eye. Something you'll notice very quickly is the creasing under your eye. Depending on how your skin is under your eye, you're going to see more creasing. You're not going to be able to completely hide any of the creasing happening under your eyes. What foundation and concealer does is it can color correct, it can change the tone of your skin, but it's not going to remove texture. I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can see what I mean. So, as you can see under my eyes, I have these under eye bags. Now, as much as I can color correct and brighten that area, I'm not going to be able to actually take away that actual texture and that actual shape I have under my eyes. But you can't take away that natural texture that you have, which is natural and beautiful. Alright, so next I'm going to go in with the concealer that's in the shade Medium Peach. This shade is another shade or two lighter. I'm going to softly tap that concealer into my skin. Now that I have a couple layers of product on my skin, I have to be really careful to try not to disrupt the product that I have under. So I'm going to pounce very lightly. Imagine if these were all matte products, my skin would be super dry. But because my skin still has a glow and these are hydrating products, they're blending together really nicely. Notice that I didn't do a bunch of light concealer everywhere. I strategically added my concealers for more coverage and then to highlight. So now that I've done my concealer, I'm going to go in with my bronzer. I like to go in with a cream bronzer. So for today, I'm going to use my Milk Makeup Stick Bronzer. And I'm going to take this e.l.f. brush. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to pounce that into the skin. I go in a kind of oval-y shape. I almost treat bronzer like a blush. Make sure to get into that hairline. If you feel like you've added too much, you can go in with your sponge, which has that leftover product, and it'll help kind of blend it together like that. So next I'm going to go in with my cream contour. This is the Fenty Matchstick in the shade Amber. It's a really cool tone. And for this, I'm going to take this small little brush from Profusion. So what I'm going to do is right here, for me, when I do my contour, I start right here, and then I bring it just out a little bit at a slightly low angle. I'm going to slowly tap this in the area that I applied it. You don't necessarily need to go with the cream contour, and here's why. With a bronzer, you're already creating depth. You're using a warmer shade, but it's still a deeper shade than your skin tone. So when you look forward, you're going to see that bronzer, that slightly deeper shade on your skin, which is naturally going to create a contour. You can emphasize that more with going with an actual contour color. A lot of times, a lot of people go up really high to kind of lift up their cheekbones, but when you actually follow your natural cheekbone, one, it looks more natural, and two, it just flatters your face shape more because that's where your natural contour line is. So what I do is I take my mirror and I look forward and I start to bring it forward. You can kind of do that little fish face to kind of follow the shape. So I'm going to do my cream blush, and then I'm going to zoom you guys in so you can see how my skin looks right now. So I'm going to take this Fenty cream blush in the shade Fuego Flush, and I'm going to take that same brush I used for my contour. And this time I'm going to tap it in like this on the side. And then I'm going to start tapping it around my skin. Again, creating a nice light layer of that blush. I'm being really delicate. I'm usually not this delicate, but I want to show you guys if you really want to create a very soft, Longwear look, this is one way to do it, at least how I do it. The nice thing about these blushes is that you can add a lot, but it doesn't look too much. You can build them up very nicely. And then I'm going to zoom you guys in. Okay. So here's my skin. Here you can see my contour, my blush. Very soft, very blended out. So something that I'm going to do that I haven't really done in a long time is spray my face with setting spray. So this is the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. So this is one of those super long wearing setting sprays. The reason why it's so long wearing, alcohol. Pretty sure alcohol is one of the top ingredients in this setting spray. What alcohol does is dry. So what this is doing is taking out some of that moisture to dry it down a bit. The reason why I would rather have my drying products in a spray is because this won't dry my skin like any mattifying cream or liquid products. I don't know if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my face. I take my sponge and I lightly press that into the skin. And this also, because it kind of like dries it down a little bit and sets it a little more, I end up going in with less powdered products. So the powder that I'm going to go in with today is my Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Setting Powder in the shade Butter. It is this nice, slightly yellow tint. So what I'm going to do is I have some of the powder on the top, press my sponge in there, see that excess powder? And what this does is this breaks down any clumps of powder that might have gathered together. And so then I have just one soft layer of powder on my sponge. If you have very dry skin, you don't have to set your skin if you don't want to. For me, again, I'm really oily, and so while I enjoy shine, I don't want to look too greasy. So what I'm going to do with this, like I said, tap off the excess and press it under the eye very lightly. Make sure to get into this little area around the nose. Press that in very lightly. Again, now that we're going in with powder products, we want to be even more careful not to disrupt the cream products. Start to take whatever excess powder out of my mouth. That's when I start to set the rest of my face with whatever is left. So now I'm going to go in with my Alamar Cosmetics Brighten and Bronze Complexion Trio. This is in the shade what? Medium tan? Medium tan. I'm going to take my bronzer brush, which is a pretty big fluffy brush, and I'm going to go with that middle shade. And then I'm going to go into those areas that I applied that original bronzer. On the cheeks, up here to the temple, and into the actual contour. And sometimes I just like to pull it out very softly with the brush. So next I'm going to take a small little fluffy tapered brush. This is from Real Techniques. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually dip it into the deeper shade in this palette and lightly get it just at the top of the brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this deeper shade to emphasize my contour very lightly. So again, I went into this area right here, and I'm just going to lightly drag my brush up and down very lightly. I'm doing this super lightly and building up, because once you make a mistake, the issue is that you're going to have to use more products to blend it out. You're going to be more rough with your skin, again, potentially disrupting the products that you have under. And then I like to go with my sponge. If you feel like you added too much, you can go in with your sponge and just tap that out. So here I started to do my nose contour and I explained it, but I didn't want to make this video super long. So here's just really quickly how I do my nose contour. If you guys want to see a video on how I do my nose contour, please let me know. But yeah, so I'm just adding a little bit more bronzer with a small brush, and then I'm using my sponge to tap off the excess powder to make sure it doesn't look too harsh. So next I'm going to go into this Bare Minerals blush in the shade Bellini Brunch. I'm going to take this Luxie 514 blush brush. Swirl that in, tap off, make sure to tap off that excess, and just softly start building up that color. Before I go into the highlight, I'm going to set my skin one more time. Alright, cool. Oh, wait. Oh. I forgot to do something. But my skin is now set. before I go into my highlight, I'm going to take the brightening shade in this palette with this soft, fluffy brush, and I'm going to dip that into that shade, tap into it on the brush. You almost can't even see it. It's just such a light amount. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it right there on the inner corner of my under eye. I'm brightening this area just a little bit more. That yellow is really going to bring forward and brighten the under eye. So, alright, cool. So next I'm going to go in with highlight. I'm going to take this Becca highlighter in the shade Moonstone on this highlighting brush. Take that and just start slowly highlighting the cheekbone. Highlighting your skin is going to vary between person. So I think the best way to do it is when you are doing your cream products, and if you shine a light and you see where the light is hitting your cheekbone, and then just move around the light and kind of see where the light's hitting you. And those are really great places to highlight. And then I take a little bit on my finger and I highlight the nose right at the tip. A little bit on my bridge, just a little bit with my finger, very lightly, not to drag too hard. Press and just add a little bit of highlight on the cupid's bow. Alright, I think the skin's looking good. I'm going to zoom you guys in real quick one more time. And this is how we're looking. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to finish off the rest of my makeup. I'm going to finish around the eyes and then my lips, and I'll be right back. Alright you guys, so that is how I do my foundation and complexion routine. Obviously, like I said, I filmed that on a different day, so I came out with a different eye look today, and I'm obviously wearing something different, so I'm not trying to trick anybody. This is a different day. But I did use the exact same steps. I even used the same sponge. I sprayed myself with my setting spray the same amount of times I did that day. So what I'm going to do right now is go on about my day. I'm probably going to check in about 5 or 6 hours to kind of show you where my skin is at. I am running around today, so I'm going to get pretty sweaty. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff real quick, so I'll see you guys in a couple of hours. Came in for check-in. I am about 6 hours into since I've done my makeup. I did it kind of late in the afternoon, and you can already see I've gotten shiny around my chin, mostly around my forehead, and a little bit on my nose and the sides. I've lost a little bit of product. So what I'm gonna do to kind of take some of that shine away, I'm gonna take my Fenty Beauty blotting powder, and then I take it on this brush, and I'm just gonna start placing that on my forehead. And there. No powder, powder, no powder, powder. Looks pretty good. Hey y'all, so of course I can't find the clip where I did my outro. My dog just snored. Anyway, so hope you guys enjoyed today's video. All the links to all the products and brushes I use will be listed down below, as well as any other important links about what's going on nowadays, because I always try to include links that are really important in my description box, so please check those out. If you have any questions, concerns, please let me know, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!